Science page 33. Science page 33, parts of a plant. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Parts of a plant. So I know we covered that page already, but I just wanted to review it again. So this week we are covering the first two parts of a plant, which are the flower. We'll just do the flower part. So let's go to 33. Dennis, you want to read 33 for us? We're going around.
Yes. God designed a special way for plants to grow and live. Each part of the plant has a special job. Most plants, roots, stems, leaves, and flowers the roots take water and nutrients from the soil. The stem moves the water and the nutrients from the roots to the leaves. These make the part of the plant that makes the seed. Without flowers, we would have no new plants. Some plants have cones rather than flowers. Can you name some plants that have cones?
Okay, good. All right, so we have 4 different parts of a plant. There are 4 parts of the plant: the root, the stem, the leaves, and the flower, which we did discuss that already, but that will be a test question. How many parts of a plant? What are the 4 parts? So each part has a job, and each part, their job that they complete is important for the plant to survive, for the plant to grow, different things like that, okay? So let's go ahead and go to page 35, and let's talk about the first part of a plant, which is the flower part. The flower's job is to make seeds. So let's go to 35 and let's read about the flower, okay? Avaya?
Flowers are usually the most colorful part of the plant. Some flowers smell very sweet. Can you think of a flower that has a sweet smell? Some plants are not colorful and do not have any smell, but they still have flowers. The flower's job is to make seeds. All flowers have pollen. Pollen is needed to help the flower make seeds. Most pollen needs to travel from plant from one plant to another. How can the pollen travel? Some pollen can be carried by the wind, but most pollen travels with the help of insects.
Good. Okay. So we know when we see the flower part, when we think of a flower, we usually think of like the colorful part of the plant, usually, you know, the part that most people smell because they do smell good as well, right? And some plants don't have a smell, but you know, if you're smelling like roses or, you know, lilies, usually that's the part when we say flower, that's the part of the plant we think about, right? So the whole purpose of the flower is to make seeds for the plant. That is the purpose of the flower. If the plant has no flower, it cannot make seeds. Seeds are important, right? Because what grows from seeds? Plants, right? Other flowers, other plants. So the flower's job is to make the seed. That's why usually the flower is the last part to come out, right? You'll usually start with the root, then the stem comes out, then the leaves, and then the flower. Because the flower is the last part, the flower will make seeds. How do they make seeds? Well, it starts with this thing called pollen. It's like a dust, you could kind of say, like a powder, you could say. Pollen is what helps the flower to make seeds. If there's no pollen, the flower will not be able to make seeds. Flowers need pollen to make seeds. If they do not have pollen, they cannot make seeds. So the thing is, now let's talk about how the plant gets pollen, because pollen is not something that just occurs. It has a process, the way pollen gets to the plants and how it, you know, helps it to make seeds. So pollen can travel by the wind, right? Sometimes the wind will blow, especially in the springtime. Usually that's when most people, like if you have sinus issues, your sinus will act up a lot. For those who have sinus issues, usually in the spring you'll find that, but that's because in the spring, everything is starting to grow back. The pollen is back again. And so the pollen, because it's carried in the wind, some people, it irritates their sinuses, their nose, they're stuffy, things like that. So sometimes the wind can carry the pollen, but a lot of times insects will carry the pollen from plant to plant. All the plants need pollen. Pollen is what helps the flower to make seeds. The flower's job is to make seeds, but it needs pollen to help it make seeds. The wind can move pollen around, but also insects move pollen around. Okay, let's look at 36. Let's talk about one particular insect that is very beneficial to the plant world. Okay, Narayim.
How does the honeybee help the plant world? Eat sweet nectar from the flowers. They use the nectar to make honey. Then a bee lands on a flower. Pollen from the flower sticks to the hair on the bee's hind. The little pollen falls off its legs into the next flower. It visits the pollen, helps the flower make seeds.
Good. Okay, so the bees, okay, so we know honeybees, right? So bees, they gather what's called nectar from a flower. So that's why a lot of times if you see a bee flying around, they'll land on different flowers because that's what they're doing. They collect the nectar from the flower. They then take that nectar, and that's how they make honey. That's how honey is made. We know bees make honey, but the thing is, that's how they make honey. The nectar that they drink, they gather from the flowers. When they go to their hive, they make honey from the nectar. So not only that, but bees have hairy legs. So when they land on one flower, the pollen, since it's like a powdery dust, it sticks to their hairy legs. So when they go on one flower, the pollen sticks to their legs, they'll fly to another flower, and guess what the pollen that was on their legs will do when they go to the next flower? It falls on that flower. That's how pollen goes from flower to flower, because insects, it gets caught on their legs. But it's a good thing, right? Because if it's caught on their legs, when they go to the next flower, they just can't, it falls off. And like sometimes pollen needs to travel from flower to flower. It's good to mix the pollen, right? because that's what helps the flowers to grow, to make seeds. So bees will pollinate is the word. They will pollinate the flowers. The pollen will stick to their legs and it will fall. As they land on different flowers, pollen is transferring all over, but it's a good thing because all the flowers are being pollinated. That's why you need to sit down. All the flowers are being pollinated, okay? So a little pollen will fall off of their legs onto the next flower, and then the next flower. The pollen is important because what does the pollen help the flower to do? Make seeds. It helps the flower to make seeds. Okay, 37.
Wait.
Person. I'm coming. I know you're done. I'm coming. I'm printing over.
Bees live and work in a hive. The worker bee protects the hive. If an enemy bothers the hive, the worker will sting the enemy, even if the enemy is you. When she stings, her stinger into her enemy. But when she tries to pull her stinger out, she tears the stinger, and the part of her body she then dies. Without bees, we would not have many of the kinds of food we eat. The bee is tiny, but God gave it a big job to do.
Good. So not only do bees have the big job of pollinating the flowers, but also in their hive, they work as well inside of their hives. Like we said, they gather the nectar from their hive so that they could make honey, right? Everybody knows that. That's where honey comes from. It comes from bees, right? And honey is beneficial for a lot of different things, right? If you're sick, a lot of time you have a sore throat or anything, you can drink honey. And I mean, you can swallow honey and that kind of helps with the sore throat and different things like that. So so bees work hard, right? And so bees, we know they work, they protect their hive, but bees also are known for stinging as well. They could sting you. Has anyone been stung by a bee before? No? Yeah, I have a few times before. And so it stings, it does sting a little. Does he have to again? Okay, yes, so yes. So the unfortunate thing is a bee doesn't sting unless they feel threatened. They will not sting unless they feel that they are threatened. And they are very cautious about it because the unfortunate thing is when a bee stings you, they'll die because their stinger is connected to their body. And so whenever they sting you, when they come out, once they sting you and then they fly away, their stinger is left in part of the person's body. And that's not good for the bee. So it affects the bee. So unfortunately, when they sting, they die after they sting. Yeah. So that's why there's a lot of bees in the hive because sometimes they have to sting a lot, right? And that's just kind of how it is, So they try not to sting because, they know the bee knows that it'll die, but they usually only sting if they feel threatened, and so, yeah, at the times I got stung, that's why. So yeah, so that's the bee. So the bee is probably one of the most important insects right now. So guys, please don't kill bees. I know a lot of people, are scared of them, but if you're not bothering them, they're not going to bother you. That's 100%. And so a lot of people are scared of them, but the good thing is don't kill them because they are essential to our plant life, right? They are like one of the biggest pollinators. They help to pollinate a lot of the flowers. So it's important to just give them life, let them live, don't bother them. If there's a hive, try to relocate the hive instead of getting rid of the hive. That's like the best thing to do. So put it somewhere and bring it somewhere else. Okay, so that is our lesson this week on flowers. The purpose of the flower of a plant is to make seeds. That is the main job of the flower, is for it to make seeds. How does it make seeds? From the pollen. If there's pollen in the plant, if there's pollen in the flower, the pollen will help the seed to make that will help the flower to make seeds. If there is no pollen, the flower is unable to make seeds. And we know that seeds are essential because from seeds, other plants grow, right? Yes. So unfortunately, if there's no pollen, there's no seeds, there's no more flowers, and we don't want that to happen because remember, what is the most important thing we humans get from plants?
Carbon dioxide.
Not seeds, something else. We talked about this. Something else.
Carbon dioxide.
Say it again, Avaya.
Carbon dioxide.
Who?
Carbon dioxide.
Not carbon dioxide. It's the oxygen. We get oxygen from plants. So we need oxygen. We remember that. We need oxygen. Braylee, you can go grab my papers at the printer, please. Braylee. So yes, okay. So and these are the major people who transfer pollen all over. One of the major instances, I'm sorry, I said people who transfer pollen to the different parts of a plant. Okay. All right. So that's our lesson in science this week on the flower part. How does the flower part do its job? Next week we'll move on to stems. Okay. All right. Go ahead and get out your social studies. We've been talking about colonial America. We talked about the era, the time of the colonies. Okay, I'm on page 50. The time of the colonies. So remember, guys, so this is after the separatists arrived. The pilgrims are here. The separatists and the strangers together were the pilgrims. Remember, they arrived here. So not long after they arrived here, they met the Native Americans who helped them plant, build their homes, and then eventually life started to get a lot better for them. And then over time, we saw more people come from England to America, right? Because they realized that America was a new place where they could get new land. They could have their own jobs, a lot of those things. So a lot of people traveled from England to America, and then now we are into the 13 colony era. So remember the colonies, they're called the colonies because they are land that is ruled by another country, right? In particular, that country is, what country rules the colonies? England. So England is in control of all of the colonies. There are 13 of them total. And if we look back on page 46, we'll see them again. Remember, we are testing on this. It'll probably be in about 2 weeks. We'll test on the colonies. So next week, we'll test on identifying the different sections. And then the following week, we'll test on each one of the colonies. You'll have a map test, basically. So just keep that in mind. This week, we'll have a colonial shops test. And then after that, we'll test on the rest of it. Okay. All right. So, oh, that's not mine. Okay. Let's go up. Okay. So let's go ahead and discuss the colonial shops. Okay. So before break, we discussed how it was colonial life, and how the pilgrims, the different things, the different homes that they built, it just was based upon where they were living. They had the clapboard houses, they had the log cabins, the plantation homes, the stone houses, right? The food they ate, they usually only had like one pot, so they would often cook like vegetables and meat together in the pot. They only had like limited spices, salt, sugar, flour, things like that, right? So life was different. They would usually have a cow where they could get beef and milk and butter, right? They would have chickens, they could eat chicken. And again, the Native Americans taught them a lot of things. So let's look at 50. And so now, as the colonial towns grew, there became colonial shops, right? So you could go into a colonial town and you could find different shops for different things. Now, the shops were usually founded only in like large colonial towns, like Williamsburg, Virginia would be one, for example. So these colonial shops all served a purpose some kind of way. It was something that was needed. Now, we'll go through it and we'll talk about how some of that we still have some of that today. It's just we don't call it what they called it in colonial times, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started on 50. Caitlin? Okay, get another paper. Over. Why are you so close? Sit down and turn around. You're always in my business.
In
colonial.
There were many craft shops. Were craftsmen worked everything was made by hands. In the shop, a large Legora, I don't really like Legora town, would have many shops. What kind of shop would you see in a colony?
Colonial. Okay. All right. So in the colonial towns, there were many different craft shops, and everything was made by hand. So that's one thing that's different about the colonial times and now. Now we have machines that usually make a lot of things, right? And things aren't as durable as they used to be, right? Things break easily. Have you ever bought a toy or your parents bought you a toy and it broke in no time, right? So things aren't as durable as they used to be, but in colonial times, those things were handmade and it took them time to make a lot of what they made. So those things were worth a lot and they had a lot of value. That's why a lot of that stuff that they made during colonial times, you could actually see some of the same artifacts today because that's how, good and durable the quality was. Okay, so let's go to the first shop, which would be the silversmith. Okay. You're about to get out because you are. Make sure you get it out. Just throw it. And stop putting it in your mouth. Okay, so first we have the silversmith. The silversmith reminds us of a jewelry store, right? Because the silversmith would make things from silver. Silversmith, silver, right? So the silversmith would usually make different things from silver. So if you wanted all kinds of things like buckles, like a buckle on your belt, a candle holder, earrings, spoons, a lot of those things were made in the silversmith shop. That's where you would go to find some things like that. The silversmith was also known as the watchmaker. So the silversmith often did different things like that. He would make a lot of things using silver. That's why he was called a silversmith. Yeah, that's why he's called a silversmith, because he made things from silver. Okay? Absolutely not. That's why he was called a silversmith. So again, he would make things from silver like belt buckles, candle holders, earrings, spoons, watches. That's what the silversmith would make. So if you wanted to get something like that made, you would go to the silversmith. Okay, 51. Let's go to the next shop, the blacksmith.
Wait, they got the silversmith and
The blacksmith. Okay, go ahead. No. He didn't.
Down we hear the clang of a hammer against iron, a black iron. A blacksmith is hard at work here. He makes nails, fingers, farm tools, and horse food. by hand. First, he softened the black iron in a very hot fire. Then, with a heavy hammer, the blacksmith pounds in the iron into the shape of what he wants to make. The blacksmith shop was also the place to go if you need a dentist in colonial days. At that time, there was only one cure for the tooth. Get rid of that tooth. A blacksmith could use his iron
Pincers.
pincers
What did it say?
to pull
Somebody
out
say.
of and
That's not the directions. Okay, so next we visit the blacksmith. So the blacksmith also works with the metal and he works with iron. Iron is a stronger metal. And so with the iron, he would usually use like really like a very hot torch to kind of shape the iron into whatever it was that he was making. So the blacksmith would make a lot of farm tools. So like those who were farmers would usually go to the blacksmith for him to give them the tools that they needed for their farm. So things like nails, hinges, horseshoes for the horses, all of those things were made by the blacksmith. So you would go to the blacksmith to get things like that made. Okay, so he would usually, like I said, he worked with heat. He would soften the iron with hot heat. He would usually soften the iron up and he would make whatever it is that you needed to be made. He pounds it and he shapes it into whatever he needed to shape it in. The blacksmith was not only the person who worked with the metals, but he also was like the town dentist, right? Because they didn't have dentists at that time. They didn't have people who specifically worked on their teeth. So if you had an issue with your tooth or anything, the blacksmith was who you went to pull that tooth. They had the tools to pull the tooth out for you. So the blacksmith, they not only made things with iron, but they also were like a dentist. Okay, 52, Dennis. It says circle the even numbers and you circle all the.
Next, we pass the jointers or cabinet maker shop. He made
they're white people.
Beautiful desks, chairs, tables, and other furniture by hand. Some colonists make their own furniture from rough wood, but families who lived in or near usually like to buy beautiful furniture from a skilled cabinet maker.
Good. Okay. So next, after the blacksmith, we visit the joiner, or you could say the cabinet maker. He was the one who usually made furniture. If you needed furniture, you would go to the joiner. So things like a desk, a chair, a table, all the different types of furniture. The joiner was the one who made those things because he joins it all together. I guess you could say joins the wood together. So he would make, well, yeah, like a desk, right? He would use wood, of course, to make a lot of those different things. So we will go to the furniture store today, right, if we need furniture, but the joiner is the one who makes all the different types of furniture. In the colonial times, you would go to the joiner to get a table, to get a desk, to get a chair. That's who used wood to make all those different things. Okay? All right, let's go to the cobbler, Avaya.
I do want to read the cobbler part.
Uh-huh.
I need to also ask you a question.
Okay.
Why do horses need horseshoes?
Because their hooves wear down. And so it's a good way to protect their hooves, like their feet.
Oh,
Yeah. And so especially if you use them a lot, like to walk and to race or whatever you use the horse for, it protects their feet. Like how we wear shoes on our feet.
that protects our feet from getting stuff in. The cobbler. Our next shop.
Hold on, everybody, 1 sec. Okay, you can go ahead.
The cobbler. Our next shop is the cobbler shop. We can hear a light tap, tap, tap as we go inside. The cobbler makes and men's shoes. In the colonial days, cobblers did not worry about making one shoe for the left foot and another for the right. Instead, they made two shoes exactly alike. A left or a right foot would fit into the other. One of them either fit into either one of them. Do you wish your shoes were like that?
Okay, so next we visit the cobbler. So the cobbler is the shoemaker. We would go to the shoe store, but the shoemaker. Now the thing about the cobbler though is that he made the shoes custom, right? We can go to the shoe store today and we can find several pairs of a certain shoe, right? We just got to find our size. But the cobbler, you would go, he would size your shoe, get your shoe size, and he would make your shoe tailored for you. So you kind of, I guess, had to wait on your shoe to be made as well. So another cool thing is that they didn't have a right or a left during colonial days. They would just make the shoe. And when you put it on, the more you wore it, of course, the shoe kind of bent into the shape of right or left, right? So they didn't necessarily have left or right shoes at that time. They just had shoes, right? Eventually, though, the more you wore it on the certain foot, it would shape to the foot and stuff like that. They also made the shoes from leather. And remember, they didn't have cars at this time, so they often walked a lot. So they needed shoes a lot, right? Yeah, they needed shoes often. So that's why they really needed the cobbler, right? So that they could get shoes made, get their shoes fixed whenever they needed. So the cobbler is the shoemaker. That's where we would go to get shoes, okay? All right, let's keep reading. Other shops, Naraya. So that's going to finish us. Well, no, we got one more.
The other shop to see in a colonial town so mixture of spice and herbs for medicine. Today people call this kind of store a pharmacy. You could buy barrels from the barrels from the cooper. Barrels were good for storing food such as fish or mullet at the Whitesmith shop. You could buy things made from tin, most colonial candle holders, lightness cups, and diapers were made of tin.
Okay. All right. So next, other shops we have would be the apothecary, who use spices and herbs to make medicine. That would be like the pharmacy, right? Has anyone had to go to the pharmacy before, fill a prescription, right? If you were sick or something, your parents had to go get the medicine. Well, the apothecary was like the pharmacist, right? So if you were sick, you would go to the apothecary. They would make you medicine. You would find something that they made. Okay. Next, we will buy barrels because in that time, they didn't have like freezers and refrigerators to store food. So they would often store it in these barrels. Y'all know what barrels are, right? Those circle things. They would store it in barrels. And so the cooper was the one who made the barrels. Okay. So they needed to store anything. They needed a barrel. They would go to the cooper. He was the one that would make the barrels for them to store their food. We have the whitesmith. He would use tin, which is another type of metal. He would use tin to make different things like cups, candle holders, which they needed a lot of candle holders because they didn't have electricity. So they would light candles all the time. So they needed that. So he would make can holders, cups, dippers, which is just a big spoon. The tin, the tin or whitesmith, they're called the same thing, would be the one you would get a lot of those things from. Candle holders, cups, lanterns. You would get that from the whitesmith. He uses tin. Okay. All right. So let's look at 54, last page, buying and selling.
Did we do math?
Yeah. You better not come right here. Get out. Get out. Okay, that's what you want. So go. Go ahead, okay? Have fun outside in the hall. No, you actually can go to Miss Harvey. Get your math, get your science and language, take all your stuff and go. Everybody books right now. That's what you want. You do want. And look at your page. Look how you turn your pages. Pick up all your stuff first. Okay, thank you. So go sit in your chair and get your reading on the floor. Getting your other books. Again, and I think fell out because you didn't put it in right. It fell out because you didn't put it in right. Okay, so buying and selling. So sometimes some of the people in colonial times didn't make money. They didn't have money to, buy different things. So they developed what's called a barter system or a trading system. So if the blacksmith needed, say, a candle holder, he would say to the whitesmith, he would say, I don't have any money, but I'll trade you some horseshoes for a candle holder. Who is that? I'll trade you horseshoes for a candle holder, and they would trade. So instead of them having to buy it, they would just trade. So that was a system that the Pilgrims had developed during the colonial times. They would have a barter system where they would just trade. Instead of paying each other, they would say, well, I make this, I'll give you that, if you give me that in return. So that was a kind of good way, right? It would be a good system to work in today, right? If, like, say, one business needs this from another, but it's just kind of different now, right? So, yeah. Okay, so guys, that's it for social studies. Those are the colonial shops, the colonial times. So they have the silversmith, who made things from silver, like bowls and buckles, candle holders, earrings, spoons. The blacksmith, who made things from iron, like farm tools, iron nails and things, horseshoes. Nails and just different tools, hinges, farm tools, and also the blacksmith was the dentist. Then we have the joiner, who made the furniture, tables, chairs, desks. The cobbler, who made the shoes. Remember, there was no left or right. It was just a shoe, right? And it was made from leather. And then we have the apothecary, who was the pharmacist, who would make the medicine. The cooper, who made the barrels where you could store food. And then we have the whitesmith who made like spoons, cups, lanterns, and then the barter system, okay? All right, so that's it for social studies. Let's go ahead and move on to our math lesson. You'll need your ruler today for math. If you have your ruler. Okay, you need your math book as well. Lesson worksheet 72. I know, I have seen her. I know. And I can do it better. That's what she wants to do. Okay, so you need your math. Lesson worksheet 72.
Miss Fusion.
Uh-huh.
I need to keep making room for my math book. As you can,
You need to make room for it?
yeah, because I'm gonna show you.
Okay.
Well, I don't think I need to make more room for it, but like this. Like that's good.
Oh, okay, I see.
I'll switch my camera back around in a couple of seconds. I just have to get to the page. Oh, mama got me fluffing, looking down me, but yeah. One second, students.
Okay.
About this student.
Okay. All right. So okay. All right. So this is we are going to be measuring, but we'll measure a little differently now. Okay. So as you can see, if you look at lesson worksheet 72, so we already know how to measure with the full inch, right? Which would be 3 inches. But if you look at the second one, it's 2.5. So today we're going to learn how to measure with half. Okay, so if you look at it here and you look at your ruler, I'll show you how to find a half mark. Okay, so we're on inches side, just always make sure you're on the right side, okay? So if you look at the ruler here, as you can see, guys, so you know it starts here. There's usually, so between the two, do you see how there's a long line here? There should be one line that is the length of the one. You see how there's a in the middle? So like go between 1 and 2. So put one, look at this. So put one hand on 1 and 1 on 2. Do you see how there's a line in the middle of them? That's the half inch. That would be the half inch, okay? So you see how if you look at 1 and 2, you see how I have my hand here? This would be the half inch right here. See that? So this would be 1.5 inches. So how it's determined is based on what whole number you just passed. So if I was right here and I pointed to the half inch right here, what number did I just pass? No.
One.
Right here. I'm pointing to the one right here. 3. So this will be 3 and a half inch. If I went to the one right here, as you can see, I just passed up 6, so it will be 6.5 inches. So that's how you read half. So you'll have it, and then you'll have a longer line right in the middle. That's your half inch, that line in the middle. And you write it like this. So if I was measuring and my line was 3.5 inches, I will put 3 and then 1/2 to show that's 3.5. Okay? So let's go ahead and try it on our page. Let's start with the first one. The first one is a total of how much? So that one is
3.
pretty simple. Go ahead and do 3 inches.
I'm done, Miss Flugence.
Okay, let's see your 3 inch. Okay. That's 3 at the top? That's 3 inches?
I'll try to make it a little bit more darker.
Did you do 3 centimeters, maybe? Let me see, put it closer. Maybe I just couldn't see it good. Oh, okay, yeah, I just couldn't see it. Okay, that's good.
That was
Okay.
inches.
So we got 3, let's see. 3. Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
And let's do 2.5. 2.5. So let's try this one out. So guys, when you're measuring, you need to go all the way to 2, and then you're gonna stop halfway. Don't go to 3, you'll stop halfway after 2. The half comes after the 2, not before. If you do it before, that's 1.5. You have to pass up the 2 and then stop at the halfway before you get to 3. Yes, it's 2.5. Oh, so stop it. Here, it's 2. That's the half. That half line is gonna be longer than the other ones. That's how you know it's half. So 2 and then a half. You stop right here, halfway to 3. So 2 half. See how the line is long? That's the half. Oh, okay.
Oh, right here. Now I see it. I see it. Wait, I'm still doing it. I'm done. I gotta keep my hand right here.
Okay, Dennis and right. Let me see. 2.5. Let's see what we're looking like. I don't know if it's right because it shouldn't be as long as 3. Let's see, okay.
I don't think I did.
You got it, Avaya?
Yep. You need to see it.
Yeah.
It's very little.
Okay, that's probably just a 1/2 inch. 2.5, you're gonna go all the way to 2, then you'll go halfway inside of 2 and you'll stop here.
Yeah, that's what I did on my ruler.
It would have been longer than that.
Oh, let me try. See. 8.
So put it down, then you'll draw the 2, and then you'll stop halfway inside of 2. There should be a line in the middle of 2 and 3 that tells you that that's the halfway.
Here you go. This should be right.
No, it should be a little longer than that.
I keep trying.
Is your mom nearby so she can come and help you out a little bit?
I hear her on the stairs.
Okay. That's one to look at because we're not playing with our ruler.
Because she's this one.
He's having a hard time finding the 1/2 inch. I'm trying to show him on my ruler, but yeah, I think he might need, so yeah, for you to show it directly to him. Yeah, it's in the middle of 2 and 3. But you still can come by 2. We done that. We're come by 2 for items.
Now here you go, Miss Legends.
He's not talking to you, and I told you to push over already. Okay, all right, Avai, I see, good. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is 1.5 inch, so that means we need to go to 1 and then halfway past the 1, 1.5 inches. Please, thank you.
Yes, that's always, you always have to start at the beginning.
Okay, so 1.5, guys. Let's see. So remember, we hit the whole 1. You go all the way to the 1 inch, and then you'll stop halfway past the 1. 1.5. Okay.
My line is just kind of straight. Okay, let's go, babe. It's exactly because I accidentally went too far. Yeah.
Okay, we have that one. Let me see, Dennis and Avaya.
Here you go.
Okay, 1.5, 1.5. Okay, good. So the next one is a 1/2 inch. Now, this one can be tricky. This one, you'll start at the beginning of your ruler and you'll just go to the halfway here. You're not past 1. You didn't pass 1 up yet. So start at the beginning and just stop halfway. That's a 1/2 inch. Very sharp. This one will be very sharp.
Whoops. Yeah. 0. And now just go to the that one.
I'm gonna tell you this. We gotta go. Okay, next one. Next one. It tells us 4.5. So what number are we passing in inches? 4, and where do we stop?
And a half.
In the halfway of 4. Well, in the middle, yeah, sorry, the middle of 4, 4.5.
No, it's not too much.
Okay, let's see your 4.5. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty long. That's probably the longest one we did on the top part. A little longer, Vi. It should be longer for sure than that top one. So did you pass up the number 4 when you did it?
Yep.
You
Let
sure?
me go again. So the 0. Ew. Now I see the problem.
Okay, what was it?
It was I accidentally stopped at 1.5 instead of 4. Now
Okay.
I do 4.5. Here you go.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, because it should be longer than the rest. Okay, let's go to the bottom part. So guys, you can do the bottom part. Let's go ahead and look at it. So first one, number 1, let's measure it. Go ahead and measure it.
It is okay. Fine, I'll let you out.
Okay, so what did we measure? Okay, so this is how we write 3.5. So when we say 3, we write a big 3, and then we say 1/2. That's 3.5.
Okay. Two.
Okay, let's go ahead and measure the second one.
Okay, second.
Measure your second line.
This one's long. 1. This is 1. I'm done, Miss Flugence.
Okay, what's the inches of this one?
5, 5.5.
How do we write 5.5? Big 5, 1/2. Okay, you can go ahead and do 3, 4, and 5. You can do all three of them. Okay. All right, so look at number 3. How many inches? 1.5, 4, 2.5, and then 5 is a 1/2 inch, not 1.5, 1/2 inch, because it didn't pass up the 1. Okay, good. So guys, that's how we figure out 1/2 inches in math. Good. Yes. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our reading. That's it for math. Reading page 28. Your reading book, page 28.
Miss Flugence. What page, Miss Flugence?
What you said?
What page, Miss Flugence? Huh?
28.
20. Okay, can I read? They quit.
All right, let's look at your reading, page 28. All right, Avaya, you can go ahead. You can read 28 and 29. It's a poem, so you can read both.
Okay. Weather. Weather is full, or the weather is full of the nicest sound. It sings and results and pings and hums and hums and twinkles and strums and twangs and whistles and sparkles and splashes and bangs and mumbles and grumbles and rumbles and flashes and crashes. I wonder if thunder frightens a bee, a mouse in her house, a bird in a tree, a bear or a hare, or a fish in the sea. Not me. Then
Okay, good. That was a poem on the weather. Let's go ahead and turn to page 30. Let's talk about Bird Talk. It's another poem. Okay, Dennis, 30, Bird Talk.
Said the robin. In the dark. They don't like sitting on wires and things. Think, said the robin. Think, said the jay. Aren't people funny to be that way?
Okay. All right, so 31, a close call. Let's go ahead and start that story. Come on, Ray.
Millie was a chubby mouse that lived in a hole in the wall. She was not happy eating only small bites of food that she found on the ground. She wanted more and she knew just where to find some. One day Millie Mouse peeked out of her little hole just in time to see Tom Cat go out the screen door.
Carson. So for number one, you're not writing what I write. I'm putting on what you write. Don't write what I put, you're gonna put the pronoun. I'm gonna put the noun, you write the pronoun. Understand? Okay. So number one, I'm gonna put Benjamin. So instead of Benjamin, what could I put as a pronoun? Write it. So do not write Benjamin. You put the pronoun for Benjamin. Okay. All right, so a close call. So we're introduced to Millie. What kind of animal is she?
A mouse.
She's a mouse. Okay, she's a mouse. And what was she dissatisfied with? Or meaning, like, what didn't she like? What was she not happy? Yeah, she didn't like eating food off the ground. She wanted more food, right? So she peeked out the hole, and who does she see?
Tom Cat.
All right, let's keep reading. 32, Carson.
Oh, good, thought Millie. Now I can find food to eat. Tom Cat is trying to chase me back into my hole. Millie turned to the table. Of the leg of the table, dinner right to the top. Yum, yum, said Millie, as she nibbled. As she nibbled, find some food, so it would be fun.
Okay. All right. So what pronoun can I put?
Will
Let me see.
just
I'm just looking at asking for.
this.
Oh, thank you. What you put?
Could eat no more.
You're gonna take it, right, too.
Bread
No.
and swallow.
So, hey, so what pronoun can I put?
That food was good.
He. I don't know what writing, but he was
But
not. That was
I
not one of
know.
those answers. Only one person here did right. Wow. Amazing.
Okay.
He.
He said,
All right, number two.
lay down on our
Instead of Sue.
side the bed.
Now the noun Sue. What pronoun can I put instead of Sue?
She said to herself, when Millie woke up,
Okay, so she sees Tomcat walking past, right? And this was her perfect opportunity to do what? To go find food, right? And why do you think she said that? Like, do you think she has a problem with Tomcat? Probably so, right? We know cats usually don't like mice, so that's probably why. He probably would scare her often, so that's why she had to, hide and run and stuff like that. Right, so she goes to the table and she sees a bunch of food, right? Ham and cheese, bread, all kinds of things, right? So she was full, so full, what does she have to do? Lay down and take a nap. Probably not a good idea. Kinley, 33. All right, let's see your pronoun, number 2. Him, Sue is boy. Okay, she. She or her, any of those would work.
She hurt from the end of her nose all the way to the tip of her tail. I think I ate too much. Really.
Dog.
I
Only one
would feel
pronoun we
better
can
if
put
I
for
take
thing.
a little walk.
Dog. Only one pronoun we can put for a thing.
As Millie crept out
And now,
of
you know,
in the wall, she did not see
Dog.
Tomcat sitting on the wall.
I know
She
it
did
is.
not wait. Rosemary walked slowly to the door. Then she heard a sound as she turned to look. She saw Tomcat creeping after her. She scampered out the door. It wasn't even the Tomcat with Tomcat right behind her.
Okay.
Millie ran as fast as she could to a hole in a porch. She slid into
Okay, I see 2, 3, 4.
Tomcat.
Okay. So Michael, what would I put?
Tomcat.
It. No, we just did the list yesterday, and I made sure that now you know all pronouns. You guys take this right now. Okay, next one.
Sorry, the next time I will not eat all that I wish or time.
Mom and I. Instead of saying mom and I, what would I say? Instead of saying mom and I together, what pronoun can I say? Okay, good. So she takes a nap. Probably wasn't a good idea to do that, right? She ate too much food. She tried to walk it off. And as soon as she's trying to go to her hole, who does she see? And is he happy to see her? Not really, right? But did she get away from him? She did. 34. Faith, who's... Okay, let me see what we got before. Okay. Looks like most people got this one right. Yes. Okay, so I guess we can say it together. What is it? We love our hours. Good. Okay, next one.
Okay. Painting.
Tim, John, and Pam. Of people.
Painting.
What would I say? Tim, John, and Pam.
Just did it say painting?
Panting.
And Pansy sees Tomcat trying to reach with his paw. That was close. Sight. Millie, next time I will not eat all that I wish for Tomcat just might eat me.
All right, so she finally made it away, and then she realized what shouldn't she have done? Eat that much food, because when it was time to run away from Tomcat, could she run away?
Yeah.
Not barely, right? She did, but barely. So she learned, she better just be grateful for her food she finds on the ground, right? because it's dangerous to try to get food off the table because of Tomcat. All right, good job, guys. That's our story for today. That's it. Yep, that's it for our Zoom today, guys. Avaya and Dennis, I'll see you tomorrow morning for Bible. Y'all have a good afternoon, okay? Bye-bye.